Hello, good morning, good evening, whatever time of day it is for you. I hope you're having or have had a blessed day. I hope you have changed your vocabulary so that you've been blessed today instead of lucky, and that you can see the good, right, and what is often very difficult to see. I'm not going to get into a bunch of stuff this morning and pray. Like we always talk about how to pray and what to pray about. Please, please, please pray. If you take a look around, the UK is very nearly has become Islamic. I mean, it is knocking on the door. There are places right here in our country that are, without question, slowly but surely, cities becoming very Islamic in nature. I've seen people post, and especially on TikTok and stuff, especially from the UK, that they don't recognize their country. They don't know what's happened. They don't know how they've lost their country, what's happened to their country. We're ignoring, maybe on purpose at this point, I don't know, the very simple answer to what has happened or is happening to everyone's country. We've turned our back on Christ. Christians have stopped standing up for the truth that is in the Bible. And so many have just stepped away from the church and stopped being, they say, well, I'm saved, I'm born again, but I don't really go to church anymore. That's what's happened to your country. If your religion isn't prevailing in your country, then Islam will come in and it will take over. Period. We have stepped away from Christianity and God, especially in the UK. And that leaves a gap, right? And what does the universe abhor? Right? A vacuum of power. You got to have someone in. If Christians have turned away from God and quit worshiping God the way they should, make no mistake, Islamists have not turned away from Allah. They have not stopped worshiping the way they have been prescribed to worship. They see weakness in the Christian faith, and that is an open door, an opportunity, a vacuum which must be filled. It's pretty simple and horribly, horribly complicated. The only way any of this gets any better is if we turn back to this, right? If we turn back to God and to Christ and to worshiping Him in the right way, so that there's not a vacuum, so that there's not a hole for them to fill and then take over. I don't know how to explain this any better than that. If you've got there are lots of faiths in the world. There's a ton of different forms of Christianity itself. But there are, realistically, if you really look at it, there are two big ones: Christianity and Islam. If Christianity stops being Christianity, Islam will take over. And look around, it ain't hard to see. Talk to people from the UK. Seriously, make friends. Talk to these people. They as a group, you can't. Oh, everybody. No, not everybody. But as a group, have kind of just stopped going to church and worshiping God and doing these things. Go look up how many people in Scotland say they are Christian. Tiny percentage. Ireland, same way. England, same way. And then look at their politics and what has happened in the last decade and a half, 15 years to 18 years. Islam has very slowly at first, but very surely taken over a lot of their political stuff. And they're in the streets worshiping Allah. If Christians were in the streets worshiping Christ, this would have never happened. Anyway, that's 5 minutes of me ranting about probably the most important thing that's going to face the next couple of generations. But what do I know? I'm just a history guy and a literature guy that loves God and tries to read the Bible. God, read it through me. Let the Holy Spirit do all the work, because I am not worthy and have no idea what I'm talking about most of the time. Without you, I am nothing. And without you, I can do nothing. Chapters 11 and 12 in Joshua. Now, in 11 and 12, you're going to hear some stuff about stuff they have conquered and stuff they have not conquered. It's important to recognize Judges comes after Joshua. Yeah. It's later in Judges before the Israelites actually capture all of the land that they are promised. We don't get all of it in Joshua. It's not even close, really. We're kind of just the beginnings. But they name stuff that they have captured, and you hear in the world and the land was at peace. I mean, that's not exactly right. It's just kind of finishing a thing here, as the Bible likes to do, and getting you on into the next thing, so that when you do get to Judges, again, it's all about continuity and flowing. When it does stuff like that, it wants to make sure you are capable of following along. And God wanted this to be an incredibly consistent book. For obvious reasons nowadays, right? Because everybody wants to pick it apart. It's hard to do, though, doesn't it? Yeah, I don't know how my throat is today. It's terrible, but we're going to go for this anyway. I'm going to have to clear my throat 85 times. I don't know. When Jabin, king of Hazor, learned of this, he sent a message to Jobab, king of Madon, to the king of Shimron, to the king of Ashath, and to the northern kings in the mountain regions, and in Arabah near Chinneroth, in the Shephelah, and in Napha Dor to the west. This is all lands around Galilee, right? We're around Galilee and stuff, right around. I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm sorry. These were Canaanites to the east and west, Amorites, Hittites, Perizzites, and Jebusites in the mountain regions, and Hivites at the foot of Hermon in the land of Mizpah. They came out with all their troops, an army numerous as the sands on the seashore, and with a multitude of horses and chariots. All these kings made a pact together. They marched to the waters of Merom, where they encamped to fight against Israel. Yeah, I'll be straight with you. Yeah, Merom is one of those things I've looked up a few times. Because I'm not trying to be smart or learned. I think we've discussed it. But my mind works in a very specific way. I need to know why things happen. I need to know. I need to understand. I was that kid at 7-year-old who got in real bad trouble because he took apart his daddy's VCR. Because I needed to know how it worked. He was not happy about that at all. But Merom is one of those things in the Bible where we're not real sure which body of water they're talking about. If somebody tells you it's an absolute fact, it's this, that's theology. It's not fact. Theology will teach you it's this water or that water. But that's just because theology doesn't want you to think it doesn't know something. Alright, because if it doesn't know something, how do you know it? How do you know you should trust it? Be quiet. There are several who will tell you there was the Telcrete or something like that. And it might be right, I don't know. But it's semantics, as we talk about sometimes, right? It's not that important which body of water it was, as long as you understand the area they're in and what's going on. So anyway, they marched together to the waters of Merom, where they encamped to fight against Israel. The Lord said to Joshua, "Do not fear them, for by this time tomorrow I will present them slain to Israel. You must hamstring their horses and burn their chariots." Joshua with his whole army came upon them suddenly at the waters of Merom and fell upon them. The Lord delivered them into the power of the Israelites, who defeated them and pursued them to the greater Sidon, to Mesrapoth, and eastward to the valley of Mizpeh. They struck them all down, leaving no survivors. Joshua did to them as the Lord had commanded. He hamstrung their horses and burned their chariots. At that time Joshua, turning back, captured Hazor and struck down its king with the sword. For Hazor formerly was the chief of all those kingdoms. He also struck down with the sword every person there, carrying out the ban till none was left alive. Hazor itself was burned. All the cities of those kings and the kings themselves Joshua captured and put to the sword, carrying out the ban on them as Moses, the servant of the Lord, had commanded. However, Israel did not destroy by fire any of the cities built on their mounds, except Hazor, which Joshua burned. All the spoil and livestock of these cities the Israelites took as plunder, but the people they put to the sword, until they destroyed the last of them, leaving none alive. As the Lord had commanded his servant Moses, so Moses commanded Joshua, and Joshua acted accordingly. He left nothing undone that the Lord had commanded Moses should be done. So Joshua took all the land, the mountain region, the entire Negeb, all the land of Jashan, the Shephelah, the Arabah, as well as the mountain regions, and Shephelah of Israel, from Mount Halak that rises towards Seir, as far as Baal-Gad, in the Lebanon valley at the foot of Mount Hermon. All their kings he captured and put to death. Joshua waged war against all these kings for a long time. With the exception of the Hivites, who lived in Gibeon, no city made peace with the Israelites. All were taken in battle. For it was the Lord's doing to make their hearts obstinate to meet Israel in battle, that they might be put under the ban without mercy, and be destroyed as the Lord had commanded Moses. Again, if you look at what's going on right now, and what went on for years after Christ's death, and when they had to send knights to defend Constantinople, if you look at all that, you'll understand the ban. Because the ban seems cruel and heartless and terrible, until you see what allowing them to live and what allowing other gods to creep in can do. Right? Remember that before Muhammad starts his holy wars and dies, and then the next several hundred years is just absolute holy war, right? All the lands that almost every land that is now Islamic was Christian at that time. They were all Christian, and Islam waged holy war on them until, well, the vast majority are Islamic. And it would be worse had it wasn't just like one person, right? But had not the Vatican and the West, right, Europe and stuff, decided they must send someone to stop this, there might not be a Christianity now, right? Yeah. So I remind you of this because I need you to understand that, because the ban seems so horrible from this loving God that we know, but it's there for a very good reason. Putting everyone under the ban is there for a very good reason. So that I'm so sorry, wait a minute. At that time Joshua penetrated the mountain regions and exterminated the Anakim and Hebron, Debir, Anab, the entire mountain region of Judah, and the entire mountain region of Israel. Joshua put them and their cities under the ban, so that no Anakim were left in the land of the Israelites. However, some survived in Gaza, in Gath, and in Ashdod. Thus Joshua took the whole land, just as the Lord had said to Moses. Joshua gave it to Israel as their heritage, appointing it among the tribes, and the land had rest from war. There was still some fighting, right? And as I said, we don't get everything until Judges, so there's still going to be some fighting. He's just saying, we took this area, and we had some rest, right? But we ain't done, okay? These are the kings of the land, chapter 12. Yeah, and chapter 12 right here, yeah, before I read this, is much like, you know, we had Genesis and Exodus, and then we had a book that I said was kind of like a transitional book, right, to the next couple. 12 is kind of like that in Joshua. It's kind of like a transitional chapter. They're saying, here's what we've done, yeah, but we're not done. These are the kings of the land whom the Israelites conquered and whose lands they occupied, east of the Jordan, from the river Arnon to Mount Hermon, including all the eastern section of the Arabah. First, Sihon, king of the Amorites who lived in Heshbon. His domain extended from Aror, which is on the bank of the Wadi Arnon, to include the Wadi itself, and the land northward through half of... Okay, give me a second. Ooh. Okay. First Sihon, king of the Amorites who lived in Heshbon. His domain extended from Aror, which is on the bank of the Wadi Arnon, to include the Wadi itself, and the land northward toward half of the Gilead to the Wadi Jabbok at the border with the Ammonites, as well as the Arabah from the eastern side of the Sea of Chinnereth, as far south as the eastern side of the Salt Sea of the Arabah in the direction of Beth Jeshimoth. Now, the Salt Sea, we're not going to go over. We know what that is now, right? Southward, southward under the slopes of Pisgah. Secondly, the border of Og, king of Bashan, a survivor of the Rephaim, who lived at Astaroth and Edrei. He ruled over Mount Hermon, Salakah, and all Bashan as far as the boundary of the Geshurites and the Machonites, and over half of Gilead, as far as the territory of Sihon, king of Heshbon. It was Moses, the servant of the Lord, and the Israelites who conquered them. Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave possession of their land to the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh. Before they crossed the Jordan, right? Because Moses didn't get to do that. This is a list of the kings of the land whom Joshua and the Israelites conquered west of the Jordan, from Baal-Gad in the Lebanon Valley to Mount Halak, which rises towards Seir. Joshua apportioned their land and gave possession of it to the tribes of Israel. It included the mountain regions at... Give me a second. I had to cough hard that time to get that to move. Y'all don't need to see all that. My coughing hard looks like someone dying. Lost my place. Joshua apportioned their land and gave possession of it to the tribes of Israel. It included the mountain regions of Shephelah, the Arabah, the slopes, the wilderness, and the Negeb, belonging to the Hittites, Amorites, Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. The king of Jericho, 1. The king of Ai, which is near Bethel, 1. The king of Jerusalem, 1. The king of Hebron, 1. The king of Jarmuth, 1. The king of Lachish, 1. The king of Eglon, 1. The king of Jazer, 1. The king of Debir, 1. The king of Jeder, 1. The king of Hormah, the king of Arad, the king of Libnah, the king of Adullam, the king of Makkedah. At the end of each one of these is 1. If you want me to explain that later, say something in the comments and I will. The king of Tapuh, the king of Hepher, the king of Aphek, the king of Lasharon, the king of Madan, the king, or Maiden. If you say Maiden, it's wrong. I love you, but it's wrong. The king of Azor, the king of Shimron, the king of Ashphala, the king of Tanakh, the king of Megiddo, the king of Kadesh, the king of Jokneam, at Camel, the king of Dor, and Naphathor, there we go, the king of Joim at Gilgal, the king of Tirzah. 31 kings in all. That's the end of chapter 12. I know it's like a weird cutoff, but after that they just go into the division of the land, and then we move on because, like I said, we're not done. We just got a little of the land so far. And it sounds like a lot of kings, but don't think of kings like we think, like a king over, you know, tremendous territories or whatever. These are kings, what they called kings, but their territories weren't quite as large as what you might think now. Okay, so lots of kings in an area here, which is why they all pulled together to fight against Israel, right? Because you got all these kings with troops, but not a ton of troops each. But you put them all together, you got yourself an army, right? Now, an army against God doesn't really matter. It's an ant against a foot, right? I am asked by people who do not believe on a regular basis to explain God's will sometimes, especially when it comes to the death of a child. That's always when they want to go, yeah, well, what about this? I can't explain to you these things because I am not God. I cannot think as God thinks. I cannot discern as God discerns. I cannot love the way God loves. I can strive for those things, but I can never be those things. Right? But what I will tell you is this. Although on a regular basis we might not be able to see it with our eyes, or even feel it with our hearts, God's will is perfect. In that, He loves us perfectly. These 3 kids that were killed by their mom. I don't know if you've looked into this. Maybe you just saw that 3 children had died at the hands of their mother, said, oh, that evil, evil woman. Put her away, you know, whatever. I don't know. Fair enough, it feels very evil. And as a parent, like, genuinely, I cannot imagine doing that. But I also cannot imagine getting to a place mentally where it felt like that would be a relief for my kids. Do not hear me saying she should not be punished. Regardless of the why and the what for, you took those kids' lives. However, even in the Bible, when we read way back, right, God gives a lot of things. Well, He doesn't say what was their mental state when they did this thing, but boy, He almost says that a lot. Even in what we've read in the Old Testament, right? When we went through all the laws and when someone should be punished for killing someone and when they shouldn't be, when they should be able to run away to a land where they're safe, right? She reached out for help a lot before this. She flat told people, I'm losing my mind. I'm breaking. She must be punished. But so should the people that let her down. Because a lot of people had to fail this woman and her striving to try to save her mind. A lot of people failed this woman. Go look at all the times she reached out and was trying to get help. Or was admitting, hey, I need help. God would have us as Christians forgive her exactly as we want to be forgiven. The Our Father prayer, it's really important to take that prayer apart and understand every part of it. Our Father who art in heaven, you are in heaven. Hallowed be thy name. Right? Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. God would have us forgive her if we would like to be forgiven someday. Yes? But we need to look into how it got to where it got to. Because remember, she came to a place where she genuinely felt like her kids were better off not being here anymore than they were being her kids. That's a rough place to be. The society around her that was supposed to help her failed her. And in doing so, it failed her children. So, should she be punished? Yes. She took the lives of innocent beings. Yes, she should be punished. But should we not be looking into everyone who failed her and failed those kids? And what the crap was going on? I'm just saying, as Christians, we're not supposed to judge, and it seems like a lot of Christians have jumped to judging really, really fast on this one. It's like everything else, I tell you, please do your research first. And remember that you sin every day too. Yeah, but I've never killed my kids. Okay. But you sin every day. Would you like to be forgiven for those sins? Because if you would, you can't judge her. You can only forgive her and pray for her. That's it. Should the law punish her? Absolutely. God's law would punish her. But what is our role as Christians? To forgive her. To pray for her. To pray for everyone who lost those kids. Their best friends. Grandparents. Everyone who lost those kids. So instead of hating this woman, let's just pray. Yeah? Anyway. If you stuck around that long, yay for you for not judging me all. Quickety quick. Have a beautiful and blessed day. I love you. Jesus Christ loves you a whole lot more.